17-year-old version of Julian Fleming really well back in the day. I'm curious, now that you're catching up with him as a 22-year-old, anything really stand out to you? And he had mentioned that he felt he had really grown up in some significant ways. I'm curious what you see.
Yeah. To be honest with you, he's been great. And the way that ended the first time, I wasn't necessarily sure how it would all play itself out. And even during the recruiting process, when we first had I'm talking about the second recruiting process, when we had our first conversation, I didn't know how it was going to play itself out. But the guys love him. He's been awesome as a teammate. He's been really coachable. I think he has been able to kind of move on. We've moved on. There's been no talk about kind of the past. He's been really good. His grandfather's been up at practice. The other day his uncle was up at practice, which is obviously a huge advantage of a local guy staying home. He's been really good, to be honest. And, there was a time period where we were recruiting him and it was going really well, and then there was a time period where we were recruiting him and it didn't go well and it didn't end great. So I think for both parties, I don't want to speak for Julian, but it seems like it's been really good in terms of just energy, morale, expectations. He's been great. Been a really good addition. I know that he's earned the coaches and the players' trust and respect pretty quickly.
James, sticking with the wide receivers, what have you seen from Trey Wallace this spring? How have you seen him kind of take steps forward?
Yeah, I think the whole group, from what I've seen, is improved. Trey's always been kind of super athletic. Losing him last year for a period of time like we did, I thought that hurt us. I still would like to see a group of guys really kind of separate themselves from the pack. I think the whole group has improved, but I'd like to see a couple guys kind of separate themselves and make it clearly obvious to everybody. I think we need a little bit more of that, but Trey's been good. He's, obviously he's been one of our guys that we've viewed as a starter now for a while. And like I already mentioned, losing him last year, I thought was a significant blow.
James, the importance of developing championship habits, I imagine that's a year-round focus, but are there things that you can be doing now in the spring, especially with first-year players, to set yourself up for the summer and the fall?
Yeah, I think, more than anything, it's a foundation of habits. It's a foundation of offense, defense, and special teams. Not just for the players, but for some of the coaches as well that are new. So that literally we can come into summer and feel really good about having a chance to legitimately compete for jobs. Like right now, this is great, but there's going to be no decisions made now. Like I think guys are going to want to know where they're at the end of spring. There's so many things that are going to change between now and the first game, and everybody's just kind of got to understand that. It wouldn't be right or fair for anybody for us to make decisions at this point when a lot can change between now and West Virginia. So I think it's just a foundation of all those things: habits, understanding of the offense, defense, and special teams, so you truly have a chance to compete in the summer. And then there's going to be some guys that obviously are going to get here in the summer that are going to factor in. We don't know who those guys are right now, because after kind of signing, the recruiting rankings and the stars go out the window, and what shows up, we'll have a better chance to evaluate that and see if any of those guys that haven't been here yet, if they got a chance to help us. Not necessarily by game one. Maybe they've showed us that they got a chance, but then by game 4 or 5, they're ready to really contribute.
James, how is
especially the last thing, I'll apologize. Especially when you talk about the possibility of 17 games. That's a long season.
I wanted to ask about the recruiting dynamic of the staff. Now that you've had 3 new coordinators, you're out on the road in January, you have visits coming in now. How are things kind of going from that perspective?
Yeah, I think, because we've had pretty good stability on the recruiting staff, I think that's helped. I think you guys saw some of the recruiting staff was on the road recruiting, when we had some turnover and some open positions while we were waiting for clearance. So I think that helped. depending on how people do it, some people, the coordinators, don't have as active a role in recruiting. We do. But I still think the assistant coaches did a really good job. And then we always take kind of a layered approach in recruiting where it's not just one guy, because you lose that guy, then you're in trouble. So, we always have multiple guys, whether it's the position coach, whether it's the coordinator, whether it's the area recruiter, and then the recruiting staff. So that's really been pretty good. And when you think about like the last recruiting class, it's somewhat unusual. The last recruiting class, and then even the kids that committed to us early in this class, we had 3 changes in the coordinator position that I don't think we lost a recruit during that period of time, which is very unusual, very unusual.
James, what have you seen from a excuse me, developmental and performance standpoint from the younger quarterbacks in the spring and even in the winter?
Yeah, it's been really good. I think there is clearly a real healthy competition and back and forth between Drew and Beau. That's been really good. Both have kind of stepped their game up. And then, Grunkemeyer is really flashing and doing some nice things right now for a true freshman quarterback. What I'm most excited about is he's shown flashes right now. How is he going to be, in the summer when he's had really kind of all spring and all early summer to kind of grind on the playbook, grind on the installs, watch a ton of Kansas tape, watch a ton of Penn State tape. Well, where will those guys be? But it's been good.
James, what's the energy like at practice under the 3 new coordinators? Are you feeling them kind of find their footing here? What have you seen from them through 7 practices?
Yeah, Andy, I think has been really good. I think I've mentioned you guys before. I think he's approaching it like I'd like it to be approached in terms of being the head coach of the offense, not just running plays, of talking about what we have to do big picture wise to be successful and understanding the why. Tom, there's a big difference between being a head coach in the Big Ten and a coordinator. And I think kind of getting back into the rhythm of that. And he's done a really nice job. The one thing he's struggling with right now is the whistle. He's still blowing the whistle in practice more than he's supposed to. I went up to him today. I go, "Did you just blow your whistle?" He goes, "I may have." It's obviously that's changed a little bit, but he's been awesome. And then Lustig, I've been a fan of for a long time. So to be able to get him back in Pennsylvania and here at Penn State has been really good. And really all 3 of them, even Lustig, in terms of, we haven't talked about that a whole lot. We're still running the same special teams that we have under the last 2 special teams coordinators. He's had a few tweaks, but for the most part, kind of like we've discussed on offense and defense, still a lot of similarities with what we've done in the past.
2 more guys from the linebackers so far.
Been good. We're just starting to get some live work where you really got a chance to evaluate linebackers. It's hard to do it, unless you're flying around. I do think some of the things that we're doing offensively that is different has been challenging. It's been challenging for the safeties specifically and the linebackers, those 2 groups. But I've been pleased with them. I really have. I mean, obviously we got a group of guys that have played a lot of football for us, and then we got a group of guys that need to take the next step that we're excited about. You think about guys like Tamir and Keys, kind of those next young guys that need to continue to grow up and evolve, and we're seeing signs of it. So hopefully they'll finish out this spring on a real positive and have a really good spring game and go into the summer with some confidence. And then again, a couple weeks in the summer camp, feeling like we have depth there, because right now we gotta kind of create some more depth there to feel good about. Moving Abdul to defensive end, everybody's excited about, but it has an impact on our linebacker room too.
James, you're about halfway through spring practice at the moment, with this week being kind of that marker. Are there things that you have accomplished that you wanted to this spring, or just what's your assessment of the team halfway through?
Yeah, I hate to keep saying the same thing to you guys over and over again, but it's about a foundation. I think we've laid a foundation where most of the offense, defense, and special teams are in right now, and then you got a chance to kind of evaluate them. And then I think, there's still that aspect of, okay, we'll put all the stuff in and then we'll go through it again in the summer. And then we got to kind of really figure out what our identity is. Like, okay, these are the things that we have in the playbook. What's going to be the identity of our defense this year? What's going to be the identity of our offense this year? And play to those strengths and then work on our weaknesses. But I don't mean to keep answering it that way, but that's really kind of where we are in spring ball is, laying a foundation. And I feel good about what we've done up to this point.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.